welcome to this special recording of the Lime Joint podcast. I will be your host today, at least for this portion of the recording. I am Swert, and with me are...
I'm Eljay.
I'm John.
I'm Charlie.
Cool. And we totally do that in one take. I love it.
Of course.
All right. So, this is a very special recording. I had this idea for many years now. Like, I'm pretty sure everybody else has had a similar idea. Probably Eljay, you probably had this idea before as well.
Potentially.
The question has always been on everybody's mind. What is the best year in BIONICLE?
Well, I know that answer.
Well, I mean, we all have
2011.
We have our own opinions. What?
Because it's the year it died.
Boo.
Bye-bye.
Boo this man.
I just want it to be funny.
Sorry, but years with sets are all we're counting. Thank you.
Indeed.
I'll take it.
And that does mean, of course, we have to count some of the more controversial ones, some of the more... Maybe not controversial is the word I want to use there. Some of the more bad ones. Let's say it that way.
That sounds slightly more controversial than saying the more controversial ones.
Somehow. Anyway.
I'm calling it right now. I'm calling it right now. 2006 is the winning year here, because it's the year the good guy came out.
How's about you shut your blasphemous mouth?
Well, I mean, on the plus side, we definitely know 2008's not going to win.
That's correct.
That's a pity.
But we will go ahead and go straight down the list. So, the main point of this list is we know exactly already what's going to win. We already have the list in front of us. We're not going to say who wins because that would be a spoiler, and I can always cut it. The point is, we need to discuss why this particular year we're going to discuss is either so high up on the list, or in the case of this particular recording, so down far on the list.
Well, I think first we should talk about how this was done.
Okay.
The way that... All right.
Go ahead. You know exactly what I did.
I mean, I'm sorry. I thought I did. Unless you did, like, some weird magician stuff. Like,
so, I mean,
you made a fucking poll.
I made a poll, yes. I made a poll on the mass posting Facebook group, and I literally said, and I will quote myself, okay, we need to know, what is the best year in BIONICLE storyline and or sets? You can only pick one, choose carefully. That was my first statement. Choose carefully. I didn't tell everybody we were doing this. I didn't mention this video at all. So this was literally an unbiased opinion about what is the best year, storyline and or sets. Now, in hindsight, I should have probably made two polls, one for storyline and then one for sets. But you know what?
Yeah.
Everybody already knew what they were voting for when they were going into this. So let's go ahead and boil down. And keep in mind, this is a top 12 list because there were 12 years of BIONICLE. Even if we don't count some of them. All right. Let's start with number 12. 2010. Journey's End. Kind of feels poetic that we're starting with the last year of G1, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's because, we had 6 sets and they were all bad.
Not all of them.
They were all Agori builds.
I understand why this is so low. I do. I don't necessarily agree with it. I personally would put 2016 in this spot, not 2010, simply because 2016's story was absolutely horrendous. But
we are counting sets too, though.
But at the same time,
sets and story, yeah.
And at the same time, I understand why this is here because yes, it was 6 Agori builds, and of course the Agori had fragile joints. 2016 didn't have that issue. But I mean, I get it. I like 2010 story. I like the sets, surprisingly enough. But
honorable mention to that one frame of the comics where Madanui smashes Makuda's skull into a planet.
Yeah, that was the best part.
Prepare to get mooned!
Maybe don't put it like that.
No. That's my favorite joke from Spirit. That is like...
Oh, yeah. It's like... I don't know. This is tricky for me, but I see why it's here, even though 2010 did end the story. There was a continuation afterwards, but 2010 ended the G1 story. So,
It didn't so much end it as it did kill it.
mhm.
I mean, on the one hand,
Hold on. No way.
go ahead.
No. I was just disagreeing. Continue.
On the one hand, I see why everybody would not like this particular year, because we still have 11 good years to get ahead of us. Well, arguably, compared to this list. But the other hand, yes, I did appreciate, one, the fact that we even got this series. Let's not forget that
True.
2009 was supposed to be it. There was nothing left.
Yep.
Now,
Yes, and
it could be argued. There are some times when something should just be, sent off with a farewell swan song. But on the other hand, then you get, exactly what you said, an Agori build of series that just didn't need to exist in the first place.
Yeah. I will say I am at least glad that we didn't end the series off on Madanui in Mad Max.
That
true.
That is true.
Like, we at least got closure.
that's the thing. That's why I always will defend 2010 when possible, because there was a definitive ending. It was not the buttocks poll of 2016. It was an end. And sure, there was a continuation afterwards. But I appreciate the effort. Personally speaking, I appreciate the effort more than the end result, because, yes, it could have ended at the TLR just cliffhanger. But LEGO employees petitioned for it. They got something going. They got us 6 more sets as hearkenings back to old ones, old fan favorites, excluding Gresham Scroll. I appreciate that. I'm a fan.
Yeah, I think the word for 2010 is less bad and more forgettable.
Yeah.
I remember it.
I will always remember 2010 for multiple reasons.
All right, Mr. Eljay Johnson and admin of BSO1. Of course, you guys would remember every year of Bionicle.
Well,
Swert predates me in that regard, actually.
Yeah, I'm definitely much older in the continuity of.
It surprises a lot of people when I tell them what my favorite is, because I didn't start off in there. But I digress.
Well, I think we pretty much hammered in 2010 as hard as LEGO did. So let's move on to number 11.
Unless Charlie had something to say.
I just feel that you can only really appreciate the effort that's put in from outside the story, because the story itself, let's be honest, from a narrative standpoint, was not great. But
What do you mean, having an entire 4 months dedicated to an AU timeline jumping plot just to justify Takanuva being big was a good story? Was a bad story.
Well, that was actually 2009, which we'll get to eventually. But that's beside the point. Well, actually, that was 2008, wasn't it? Yeah, that was 2008.
Yep, it was 2008.
That's right. I'm an idiot. 2009 was a whole different thing as well. But let's move on to number 11, which is not either of those 2 years. 2016, The Journey to One.
Otherwise known as Other Journey's End.
The Journey to No Fun.
The Journey to Lies.
Of course, I already said I would have probably placed this in the number 12 spot. I would personally have put 2010 above this, simply on a story aspect. That being said, the sets are actually quite decent. There's a strong argument to be made for Akimu, Toa Akimu, air quotes, being the best CCBS set ever released. I'm not saying he is. I'm saying there is an argument that could exist for it.
I think in terms of construction, I would agree with that argument. But in terms of like the aesthetics of it, I think that there is a lot to be desired. Like being entirely made of trans blue pieces.
I'm a sucker for transparent pieces, so for me, that's not much of an issue, but I do understand that perspective. So a lot of people often cite Maxilos and Spinax as being, the best Bionicle had to offer, but I would say at the very least, Akimu is a strong candidate for best canister set, because he has a lot of articulation. He brought a lot more to the table. He brought all of the different lessons learned from CCBS and the initial Technic-based Bionicle system, and merged it all into one. So
Yeah, past
there's an
that,
argument there.
past that, it's just a matter of aesthetic, which is more opinion than anything else.
Of course.
I would also
at the end of the day, yeah.
I would also like to argue, as much as I hated the initial idea of the beasts, I've come to appreciate them as being not clones of each other, which is something that
Right.
both 2015 and 2016 did very well. They didn't release clone sets, which is a lesson they learned
Mhm.
very early in life. Of the life of Lego, that is. They had to learn that very quickly.
Yeah.
I think everything
I
that
did like
happened.
the sets. I thought they were decent, even though I thought that most of the Uniters were generally downgrades of the Masters.
I do agree with you. Yeah, the Uniters. Well, no. Okay.
Personally,
Like there are some
say-
exceptions, but
I would actually say some of them are both downgrades, but some of them are upgrades. Like, I
Well,
personally loved most of the Masters. But I think Pohatu probably got a tiny bit of an upgrade. A tiny bit.
yeah, Pohatu I think got an upgrade, if nothing else, to make him worth the price point of the other sets.
Right. I guess I'm not okay with, like, I prefer Galley Master versus Galley Uniter in that
Mhm.
regard
Mhm.
for the same reason. But I did like Leeway Uniter, and I know LJ's probably going to complain about that one.
I mean, keep in mind, I have a basic rule of mine. It's a personal rule. I like every single Bionicle set ever released. To varying degrees, certainly, but I like them all as a baseline. Even Qatar, even Solik. I like them all. That's why I generally tried to stray away from personal opinions on my recap reviews, because they'd just be, yeah, I like this set. The end.
Even Ranu?
Even Ranu. Everything.
Well,
So
Even good guy.
yes, even good guy.
oh,
And
goodness.
and to that
You
extent,
heard it here first, folks. LJ actually likes good guy.
Shut up, Swert, bleep that out. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But so to that extent, I also like Liwa Uniter. Now, like I said, varying degrees. Liwa Uniter is my favorite of the 2016 sets, period. That being said, I acknowledge he's probably one of the weaker Liwa sets. Personally.
Considering we live in a world where the 2008 vehicle version of Liwa exists, I'm going to say he's not the worst.
I would agree.
You're not
Except for
entirely
the
wrong.
fact that Liwa came with a giant refrigerator-sized red battle vehicle.
Oh, yeah, the
definitely
vehicle was cool, but like
Oh yeah, the Axelera is by far the best vehicle of the three, in my opinion.
Mhm.
Oh, I love it. So good.
Axelera is
But-
the pinnacle of Bionicle sets, in my opinion.
The
Yeah,
pilot
no,
mask, though. I
as far
really
as
like
As far as vehicles go.
I really like the pilot version of Zamiro. That was like, it was a little over greebly, but I think it just looked really cool.
The spikes were nice. Well, the fins or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
anyway, we're on 2016.
Yes, we're still in 2016. But that also is a very big testament of how much we really may or may not like 2016, that we're already jumping ahead to other years to talk about them. That is a good point. The only thing I really can say about 2016, the villain was by far one of the best sets we've gotten in years, as far as like the main villain.
Well, one of his sets. Umarak the Hunter, I think, is probably one of the best G2, is probably one of the best CCBS sets.
What I especially liked about Umarak the Hunter is, this is something that I was a little leery about at first, was the united feature of the creatures being so, you have to buy these in order to put them on the Toa and all this stuff. And it's like, that's great. But then you could also turn around and put them on Umarak, which I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. I like that. That's not something you saw you saw that back in 2008 with the Matoran, but that's a different subject altogether.
But I think probably the two biggest nails in the coffin for 2016 were its story being, that really, really bad Netflix series, and the fact that they didn't even release all the sets.
That's true.
Remember how we were gonna get Makuta? Remember how we don't have Makuta still?
To be fair, that was definitely more of a 2017 thing.
That's true.
There's nothing like
If 2017 had come out, I guarantee a Makuta would have been released.
There is something to suggest we would have gotten a Makuta in 2017. Nothing to suggest we would have gotten him in 2016.
Fair enough.
I think the only thing I lament is not having the Mask of Ultimate Power put in with Umarak Destroyer.
Mm-hmm. Or rather, even having a flat-out design for the Mask of Ultimate Power.
True. For the most part, at first, it was literally just that wispy flame cloud thing. And that was pretty much his appearance. And then you finally get it. It's like, oh, this is a mask.
Yeah.
I don't know. I have mixed opinions on the Mask of Ultimate Power.
There's a whole lot of
the concept art was a lot better than what we got, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I'm probably in the minority in that.
I mean, overall, it was a total train wreck of a year, or not a total train wreck of a year, but it was a train wreck of a story, a train wreck of internal proportions, and and debatably really, really good sets.
I think it could all be summed up very carefully as saying, even though it was an entire year worth of stuff, it only feels like it was out for 3 months and it was done.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's what all of G2 feels like to me.
Yeah, pretty much.
I don't know. Maybe again.
I remember the wait for G2 more than I remember G2 itself. Yeah. But anyway, speaking of G2, number 10 is 2015.
Okay, now we can get into the meat of this. So, I want to point out
subtitle for this one. Okoto.
Okoto is what I'm officially calling it because there really isn't anything else to call it. Generation 2. That's the subtitle. So, I will say, there is a gentleman in this call right now who is very closely connected with this 2015 nonsense. Isn't that right, Eljay?
Am I?
Well, let's go ahead and go over how TTV Podcast was one of the first, if not the first, in the fandom to break the news that this was coming.
I think we were the first to blow it up. We obviously weren't the first to learn it.
Sure.
But we definitely, as soon as we found out, our pre-leak policy days is like, all right, we're going to make a video. Because at first we didn't even think it was real. And then we found out later that day, oh my goodness, it's real. But yeah, no, I actually have an immense nostalgia for 2015. I don't necessarily think that its place on this list is bad, but it also isn't where I would have put it. I would have definitely put it higher.
I would have put this much higher. I think once you take nostalgia out of the equation, I think this is honestly just 2001 but better.
That is a controversial statement.
Once you take nostalgia out of the equation and Monog.
You can't do that.
You're literally digging a ditch deeper for this.
Okay, we're counting story and sets, which means aesthetic is part of this too, I imagine. And that's kind of hard to argue. Like the 2001 aesthetic?
The 2001 aesthetic, I always thought was kind of... So, I'm a kid that got into Bionicle in 2002 or 3. When was the Nuva? When did the Nuva come out? Was it 2 or 3?
Late 2002.
The Nuva came out in 2002.
Yeah, it was winter 2.
They had a massive story influence in 2003.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah. So I was introduced in, that winter 2002, like around my birthday of 2003, whatever. And so when I went back to look at the Mata, I'm like, these guys are like really skeletal and creepy, and I still kind of have that like idea. They don't come across as heroic to me, the 2001 Toamata. And 2015, I think, I think took the idea of the Nuva, of making the Toa aesthetic more beefy and more heroic, and made it colorful like the original Toamata were.
I think I can see where you're going with that.
And not to mention, you have the gearbox.
Yes. The beefy gearbox of the 2015 system was amazing.
Yeah, that was... that's probably the best part. They brought that back and they were still fully articulated. That is just a feat of engineering.
Yeah, I applaud the set designers, especially the parts designers, for that one. That was something that had to be carefully constructed. I first of all, here's the thing: the fact that we got a leak in summer of 2014 is a true testament to how hard they had to keep this under wraps, because the usual cycle of Bionicle is for Lego, I mean, is 2 years in advance.
And keep in mind, this is the company that kept the secret of Matanui being a giant robot secret for 10 years.
8 years.
8 years.
8 years? I thought it was from 99.
They released it officially. Well,
oh wait, no.
That's true. That's true. That's good. 2000.
You know what?
Should we
That's
just say it
reasonable.
came in 2000? Sure. Okay, that's
I think-
reasonable.
I think
9 to 10 years.
Fair way of
Okay.
going by.
Applaud.
But yeah, no. See, those are all very interesting points. They're not necessarily wrong, because set wise, I do actually agree that objectively speaking, the masters are better sets than the Mata, and this is an argument that I've had with a variety of people. When it comes to the aesthetic, that just boils down to personal preference. In my opinion, the 2001 aesthetic was more consistent than the 2015 aesthetic. I do have a personal cant toward the look of the 2001 series. And there's one area, and I've made this argument on several occasions. There's one area where I think 2001 beats 2015 when it comes to sets, and that is a visual hierarchy. You can tell that there is the groups work a very particular way based on how the sets look, and there are actual groups and tribes that you can gather. So you have Liwa, he's the tallest. Then you have Traga Matau, who's the second tallest. Then you have a Matoran, who is shorter than the Taraga. And so it's this visual hierarchy. And all these bright, vibrant colors, they look really great in a group. There are very few images I like more than seeing all the 2001 sets in one place, because it looks visually brilliant. 2015 did its best to emulate that. And I think, again, set-wise, they are better. You have the gear function plus articulation, which is something Bionicle fans have wanted for decades.
Oh yeah.
Biggest
I
flaw
mean, for decades. It was around for a decade and a half.
That's true. Why did I say decade?
biggest flaw of 2015 was the enemy sets, I think, because we only got two main enemies, like Lord of Skull Spiders and
technically we got more than two. We ended up getting a grand total of 6 sets with enemies in it.
Yeah,
by that I mean
all of them were fairly lackluster, or fairly forgettable. Especially Skull Scorpio, that is such a joke of a set.
Pointy brick.
Yeah, that is another component. While the Toa might be better sets, the creatures, the enemies that they face, I don't think that the Skull villains hold up to the Rahi. The Rahi are too varied.
Right.
They are too good as far as a building experience. There are more of them, just simply based on how there are 2 in a box usually, and they add more life to the world, the visual look of the world. And this is all without talking about the story, in which case I think 2001 had a better, I wouldn't say a better story necessarily. They're all obviously very similar.
It was a more focused story, I think.
It was more focused. There was better characterization of our protagonists. We had a better avenue. Well, I wouldn't even say better avenues. 2015 had far more in way of media than 2001 did. But I think that what media 2001 had was better told, it was better executed than anything in 2015.
It just felt like 2001, it felt like the story was written by someone who cared more.
Yeah. There's just a little more nuance.
It is very interesting to note that, 2015, the story itself, you're right, the very beginning of it felt very... It didn't feel rushed, did it? No. It felt very... almost... I think forgettable is the best way to say it.
You're talking... Did you say 2001 or 15?
15.
15, yeah. I would say the story was... It felt like it was trying to rush through the 2001 story skeleton without, and in doing so, ignored the parts that people actually enjoyed about the 2001 story.
Well, and that's the other thing.
And didn't add anything new to replace it.
That's an interesting point, because technically it does emulate 2001 by saying go gather the masks, but it really does feel like a Cliff's Note version. It's like, and then Tahu found the gold mask, and that's it. He's done.
If I'm being honest, I barely even remember how the Toa landed, if at all, in 2015.
Honestly, I think it was more or less glossed over. I mean, they explained it in the novelizations how the great protectors of their various villages gathered together and basically summoned Heroes of Time Legacy.
Okay, yeah.
They
Now I
basically
remember, yeah.
activated a mask of time to basically summon these heroes of ancient lore. That was the whole point.
Mm-hmm.
Which, okay, I like the callback to the Mask of Time from the original G1.
But then they didn't go anywhere with it.
They
Yeah.
barely went anywhere with it. I think 2017 would have probably featured it together, probably. But
Maybe.
you're right. It feels like it was a bit more rushed than it should have.
Mm-hmm. And
Yeah.
I think also price point was one of the huge issues for this year. I think one of the strengths that 2001 had was, you had the Rahi were, enormous sets that cost a ton of money. But then
Of money. They were only like $30.
A ton
No,
of
it
money for
varied.
2001.
Right.
Especially when you're talking about some of the sets like the Manas or the
Yeah, the Manas were, what, were they, Eljay confirmed they were like $50, if I recall?
90.
They were 90?
Yeah. They
The
were
Manas-
expensive.
The Manas are tied for the most expensive Bionicle set with Scopio XV1.
Yeah, because they had those remote control things. They were
Right.
experimenting with
That's
that.
a good point.
The Rahi in general were fairly expensive, but the thing with the Rahi was they were not as desirable to a kid wanting to just play with toys as
Mhm.
let me back up here. The hero sets were the cheap ones in the original, and that made it really easy for a kid who's like, wow, this dude looks cool, and then they just buy it because it's like $6.
Right.
Well, let's be fair. The canister sets were the main bread and butter Bionicle. That would have been the
Yeah.
original Toa. The
But
cheap
when you
ones
look
were
in
the Taraga.
2015, the heroes were upwards of like $30, $20-$30.
True.
And they
I
were
believe that is
big
roughly where
set.
Master Fire was.
It's
Tahu.
just so much less accessible.
Yeah, it was a whole
Actually,
lot
no.
less.
Tahu was only $20, but you're still
Yeah, $20. That's a Titan
the
set
large.
from
The
G1.
large sets were only
But yeah.
$20 in 2015.
The point is, the heroes were priced and built as Titan sets, whereas instead of the canister sets that I think they should have been, and I think that hurt the accessibility of the line a lot.
Yeah, because when you're a kid in the store, you want to get the main characters. You want the heroes, but
Right.
you can't afford the heroes. Just
I think
the
the other thing
protectors.
that bothers me the most.
Yeah, just the shitty little scorpion that doesn't move.
yeah.
I think what bothers me the most is they also split up the heroes 3 and 3. They had medium sets at $15, and then they had the large sets at $20. Why didn't you just put them all together at the same price point and then make the later sets larger sets, like LJ was saying? Tier them out like that.
Well, they actually did kind of do that in the fact that the Toa, they only released 3 in the summer and 3 in the winter, which was, I think, a big mistake. But
It's not quite what they did, actually. In 2015, they released the Winter Medium Toa as the $15 sets, and then they released the other 3 Toa as large sets in the same month, in the winter.
Yeah, no, the Toa Masters all came out at the same time.
Same with the Uniters in
Yes.
2016.
What
We're
did
that's
not
really
come out
hammering
at the
on
same
this
time.
2015. Maybe we should.
yeah,
move on.
anyway, yeah, we've been on
Love
this 2015 for like 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Um,
Let's just summarize. 2015 brings a lot of nostalgic feeling back to Bionicle, but then you take the rose-tinted glasses off and you realize, oh, I don't know how to feel about this story-wise.
Yeah. I don't think it has as many merits as
Um,
2001, but it tried. I don't think it necessarily succeeded in certain areas, but the sets were good.
This is the first year, 2015 was the first year I went out and bought every single one of the sets. I'm not lying.
Mhm.
I actually also have a couple of extra from 2015, like the Maskmaker versus Skull Grinder set, which I'm glad I got that spare, because one of these days I'll make a Makuta.
So anyway,
So I guess we'll move on to number 9.
Number 9 is 09, Bara Magna.
This is way too low.
This is Bionicle Mad Max. I am upset that this year is this low.
This year is far too low, and given if you've been paying attention, listeners, you'll know that some years are above this one, which perplexes me to no end. I think 2009 gets a bad rap from a lot of people
Because the movie was bad.
The movie was
that,
not.
I mean,
okay.
I don't know. I thought the movie was fine, personally. Like, I like it, which I know is not a popular opinion, but I don't think it's just because of the movie. A lot of people didn't like that we moved away from the Matoran universe, that we moved into Toa, that basically just were, characters that were lesser Toa, the Glatorian.
Right. This is definitely the first year where, I mean, as many people are annoyed by 2015 and 16 being a different setting, this is the first year that we were completely on a different planet.
Correct.
I feel that if we had spent more time in Bara Magna, like if we had gotten 1 or 2 more years there, people would have been a little more accustomed to it, and they would remember 2009 a little more fondly.
Yes.
I think we did get another year in 2010, but that's a different story.
I think the concept of 2009 was doomed to fail from the start. Because speaking as someone, speaking from my perspective when 2008 had ended, so I can see why people might think something like this, is that Matanui being ejected from the Matoran universe and then having us follow him, it felt like we as fans were being kicked out of this of the universe that we'd grown to love for almost a decade. And so it made I think that no matter what had happened after that point, it just wouldn't have felt right, because it would have felt like we were getting the sloppy seconds.
I think there's a way that agree. I don't think that the concept was doomed to fail at all. I just think we didn't get enough time.
Yeah.
And I think I know a way that I could have fixed 2009, honestly, now that I'm thinking about it. What we were missing is we didn't have a character that everybody would associate with Bionicle in this, other than Matanui himself, which we literally just met. I think a way to fix it would have been to bring back somebody. Just one character. Anybody.
Or if there had...
Matanui gets to phone a friend.
Right. And I think I know who would have been. I think the Mask of Life would have created another body for Matoro and brought him in.
Don't hurt me in this way.
Yeah, I don't agree, actually.
I think it's possible. I think it's totally doable. And I think they were thinking about that with that promotional image they made back in 2008.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
I think they were
I think that at that point it would have used whatever returning character as a crutch. It also would have lessened Matoro's death in the story. So from a narrative standpoint,
I disagree.
Well,
I think it would have actually. Okay. I mean, spoilers for something that happened 10 years ago. What to do?
I mean, bringing Matoro back in any capacity immediately weakens the narrative impact of his death.
It's true.
Bottom line. You can disagree with that, but it's a pure cold hard fact. Like anytime you bring a character back who has sacrificed himself, that sacrifice needs to be permanent change.
That's why no one remembers the fact that Jala died in Mask of Light.
I think that maybe there should have just been more build-up. Like, we should have started hearing about this outside world a little bit before that, and have some mystery surrounding that. Like, just enough that people think, like, what on earth is going on here? You know,
I think they should have established the idea of Bara Magna as a place to explore and not just where we ended up.
That actually is a possibility. I mean, the Toa could have bumped into something in Cardanui and be, oh, look, there's another planet. Okay. That's
the idea was, and I remember vividly watching all the videos for promoting Legend Reborn and seeing Greg Farshti go, yeah, I'm really excited because we're going to be able to explore an entire planet, whereas before we only ever got an island per year.
Yeah.
Now we're going to have an entire planet to explore. And he was super excited for that.
Yeah,
and so
then
the
we
plan
already
was
covered,
definitely
like,
to go
12% of that
all
planet.
over the island. And I think 2009, when I first heard about 2009, I was angry. I hated, and Meso from TTV can corroborate this, I hated 2009 more than I ended up hating Hero Factory. But
Wow.
once it got started, once it actually picked up, the set started coming out, the story started being a thing. It was something fresh. It was something very new. I didn't care too much about the setting, but I liked what they were doing in it. I liked the concept of these inter-tribe politics. I liked the fact that not all the tribes were good people. Not all the characters were good people. Not all the tribes allied with each other. There were two, and then there were a couple that were kind of eh. It was a very fascinating dynamic between all of them. And it also went back to something I liked from 2001, where you had tribe hierarchies. You had, especially with the Rock tribe, because you had Tuma, then you had Stronius, then you had the Skrull, then you had Atticus. And you had that for all the tribes. I loved that. They were bright and vibrant sets. I thought that the media was pretty good when we got some. I just, honestly, my biggest complaint with 2009, outside of the setting, is that we did not get more.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
I also think that another issue that 2009 had was our locus on the story was someone was like he was a god, but the problem was Matanui acted like a god, and he was our only connection.
Actually, I would change that slightly. I don't think that's how Matanui acted. Matanui acted like a person. And that's the problem.
He did act a little too much like a person.
He did not act like he was omnipotent. He acted like he'd just woken up, but he's like another bro. Like, I'm on this mysterious planet, but I know what morals are and consequences, and I don't need to learn any lessons outside of how to fight from a car. And
see, no, because that is what I think makes him feel like he was trying to be a god, is the fact that he felt is that all of his actions indicated that he thought that he was there to teach people, not to learn. And at the end of the day, he doesn't really learn anything.
That is
I
an
don't really think
point.
he teaches anyone anything either, though.
I mean, he teaches you know Gresh things, I think. But like
yeah, but Gresh is also so young in this, which is hilarious. What is young in their universe?
Yeah, it's that he feels like he thinks of himself as a shepherd, and he never actually learns that he's not.
Yeah, well, that's the problem. Well, again, that's the problem with Matanui. I don't think Matanui's character is very good, and that's why I was saying I don't think that we should have gotten another character from the Matoran universe. And that's really where a lot of people think 2009 started going downhill, is when they brought a character from the the Matoran universe back, is because then the year relied on that person as a crutch.
Yes, perhaps. I think the first half of 2009 was much more interesting because, it felt like we were being thrown out of the Matoran universe, but I was at least willing to accept the reboot until they brought in Matanui, and I'm like, okay, now they're just trying to mess with us.
I don't think they were trying to mess with us. I
don't think they were, but it felt like it.
Yeah, I think that having Matanui there is fine. I just wish they had done a little more with his character. If they had, I think that would have been far more interesting. If he had been like, you know what? You guys are all below me. I used to be the head of this great, massive robot, and I could squish you like bugs. I wanted to see more similarity to Makuta.
Yeah.
And then over time, he would realize from people like Gresh, from people like Kina, maybe not a car, maybe a car, that, hey, they're just people. You know, your whole goal was to learn from other planets, other civilizations, how to prevent how you're acting right now. And that way he could
become... Yeah, and that way he could become the benevolent figure that he needed to be.
Exactly.
So what you're saying is it would have been nice to have him be somebody that had a little more of a snooty attitude and then learn to become more humble over time.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think that might have been a better case. Yeah, instead of being sort of curiously ignorant at first, which is basically what he almost seemed like. But you're right. He
Mhm.
never did really learn any lessons other than, oh hey, I learned my own history. I have another robot body.
Yeah, he needed an arc, and he didn't have an arc,
That's
and
yeah.
that's
Well, that being the
it's
case,
as simple as
and
that.
would you now agree that this is the right place for this year at number 9? Having said all that, or do you
I'd
think
say
it's
so.
a bit too low?
Well,
I still
No,
think
no,
it should.
it's-
I still think it should be higher.
Yeah.
I definitely think it should be higher because even without the story side of things, the set's really fantastic.
We should probably move on to the next one. I would like to
agree.
now go ahead and say we're moving on to the next year, and I'd like to introduce another panelist to the group. Go ahead and introduce yourself, panelist.
Oh, that's me.
Yes, it's you.
Hello. I'm Ginko. I run the BIONICLE subreddit.
Awesome.
And yeah,
Who's that guy that said they'd retire when you got on the lime joint?
Arc Charger.
Well,
All right,
Arc Charger, I'm sorry, man. I'm going to have to see so long. Let's move on to number 8. And for the record, this is going to be a very interesting subject from me. Number 8 is 2005 Web
I don't agree with this
Shadows.
placement literally at all.
Yeah, I think 2005 should be way below 09.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I
It
would
needed
put-
to be. Go ahead.
I would put 2005 in the 10 spot, personally.
Yeah,
Yeah.
bring 2015 up a little. I agree.
Actually, I might even put it in the 11 spot.
Ooh, yeah. There's some
Mm.
controversial topics here to be made.
I would
Number
put
one-
it in the 10 spot.
I'm going to say this right now. If it wasn't for 2006, which we'll get to eventually on this list, 2005 would have been the last year for me. Period. Stop.
Mm-hmm.
2005 is what really killed Bionicle for at first.
Oof.
I was of the mindset I was just done with everything because
Yeah.
we got horrible winter sets in the United States.
What were the winter sets?
We ended up getting the Toa Hordika in
And the
2000
Rahaga.
Mm.
and the
Oh,
Rahaga.
yeah.
Over in Europe, they got the Viscerock first, which, in my opinion, they made out better than we did.
Yeah, but not much better.
Not much better. At least the Viscerock are visually appealing. The Hordika are just the same Toa with a different head and a
Yeah.
different color.
Mhm.
You could have literally have turned them all into. You could literally desaturate every single one of them, line them up in a row, and I guarantee you wouldn't know which one's which without actually looking at the tools.
Yeah. The Hordika
Yeah.
are not very good, but also
Yeah.
the thing, I think the complaint, that is a good complaint for the Hordika, but I think it's unfair what a lot of people bring to them, which is their lopsided aesthetic, which I think is like thematic, and I think it works pretty well.
It was a good idea, but
It's a good idea. I
it
think I
was
would have
so badly
preferred.
done.
I think I would have
Mhm.
preferred maybe their left arm being switched with other pieces down the line as well. Maybe switching their right arm over to the left arm on one or two of them. Give them some variety. Give them some actual like you actually care about these sets.
Yeah,
them look
or maybe
recreated
if you
and not
wanted to
just-
do them lopsided, like you could design them like the movie designs, which
Hmm.
just look objectively better.
Very true. I do appreciate the effort they were doing as a gear function moving arm. I think that was a good evolution to start with before getting into later years.
And I
But
appreciate that function had some friction in it too.
it did have a lot of friction in it compared to later versions, which were, I mean, they have friction because they're all ball joint. But the point is, I do appreciate that they still try to include a gear function. This is probably the first time, I guess technically the last time, now that I think about it, that there was a gear function in a set of a
Mhm.
canister set. This is officially the last year for that. Unless I'm mistaken.
Yeah, it was.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Until
'cause-
2015, anyway.
right. And technically we didn't get canister sets in 15, but that's
Yeah. Hold on. Did LJ leave?
No, I'm right here.
Oh,
Nope.
all right. I was just waiting for you to say something, then I was gonna hop in.
Yeah,
But
no, it's no, I don't like 2005.
Set-wise,
2005.
set-wise,
Set,
it's
set
just-
wise, obviously, I still like the sets. As I've mentioned earlier, everything. There are no exceptions that I'm aware of. But That being said, I also don't think that they're particularly great sets. They're awfully spindly looking. They're very gappy. I didn't like the story side of things either. I thought that it being super dark and grim was a little too heavy-handed, and it wasn't done very well. The movie
Yes.
is my least favorite of the films.
Thing about
Yeah,
the
but
story,
you're also
it
a
wasn't-
Marvel Cinematic Universe guy, so
That is true. You know, the
That-
superior cinematic universe.
that whole
But
story wasn't even meant to happen, right?
as far as I'm aware, it wasn't. They kind of had to. It was.
Yeah, they kind of
Almost-
had to because they forgot to bring the Mator.
Yeah, it was really weird, and
Yeah,
it felt like a shoe in.
I think they really wanted to try something a little different with the year. So it's like, we haven't tried the dark gritty stuff yet.
Yes,
Except-
they
They
did.
technically did with 2003.
2004.
Well,
Do you not remember the Vaki ad campaigns?
that
They
was
build Metru Nui as this dystopian, as a sci-fi dystopia.
Oh, please. That
But yeah,
we'll get
no,
to 2004 eventually, I'm sure.
I like the Visorak. I actually do enjoy the Visorak. I don't think they were.
Visorak were probably the best sets canister-wise in a while.
They were fine. I don't think they were amazing. The Rahaga are awfully forgettable. But
Shout out-
the best
shout
part
out
of
to the
2005. Best part of 2005,
Sorry,
sorry, which we've forgotten to talk about completely is the Titans. Like
The-
those were great.
I'll be honest.
Sometimes they were inconsistent, I think.
Yeah, I'm actually. This is going to be a little bit of a hot take. I don't like any of the 2005 Titans. I think that the best of the two. Well, when I say I don't like them, keep in mind that is very. That is relatively speaking. I like them, but compared to other years, I don't. Does that make sense?
I don't think that they are the
Okay,
worst
good.
Titans.
Like it's not a contradiction, but
If
I
I was going to pick one of them, I think Kitonga is probably the best of the three.
Yeah.
I actually
I
think Radaka is the best, and
Yes, I agree with
unironically, I think she has the best construction. But that being said, I also don't like the look. I don't think that it's very. It's an outlier set. It looks very humanoid.
So,
I don't think that's a good idea.
I guess we're
and-
all saying then that Sidorak is probably not the best set of all.
Well, I think Sidorak would have been the best set if it weren't for the fact that his blade arm just kind of dangles there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
agreed.
I do like the functionality, but it doesn't really work.
Yeah. So
There needs to be
I
some
actually
friction there, and
don't
there isn't.
think-
Yeah,
Relatively
they didn't really
speaking,
have any
I'm not a
friction
fan of
until
them.
much later. I do
still
like
liked
the
aesthetically the gears on his shoulders. I
those
thought that
were
was
nice.
sort of neat looking.
Yeah, I love that aesthetic.
That's not bad. I will say I still prefer Kitongo just because it's a humanoid build, but not a humanoid. That's something we haven't seen in a long while. I mean, we don't see it very often. I mean, we see it again maybe twice later on, at the most, with a much later year, of course, 2006 being Umbra,
Yeah.
but that's a different subject.
Shout out to the Green Visorak for being the only source of non-breaking lime green pieces.
It's not the only source.
It's not the only
Elec.
source.
There's Eljay.
What's the other one?
The other one is the new
I
Rama
like
from
Swert for me.
2001.
Oh, really? All
Mhm.
right.
Which one?
Nui Rama.
Oh,
Didn't the
Um,
Green Visorak use the same long joints as Eljay though, and
It
Holly?
uses the same
No.
joints,
Yeah.
but it used a different plastic. It
Oh.
is not as brittle.
Okay,
I didn't
I'll say
bring
that with confidence. I did actually sacrifice a Kilorak limb to fix my Gali
mhm.
Mari or Holly Mari. What am I thinking?
Wow.
And I think also worth mentioning here is the fact that 2005 was the first year that they tried doing system sets with Bionicle, and that was weird.
yeah.
You know,
Tired reviews coming out tomorrow. Wink, wink.
I had one of those. I
Oh
think.
shit! It probably will already be out by the time this video's up.
That's correct. Wink, wink. Yeah, no. The system. I'll say this: system sets are fascinating.
they really are fascinating.
There were some
What I
bizarre
especially
choices.
loved, I think the Visrock Battle Ram is one of the most interesting sets. Just to have that gold, the gold Visrock shell. What was it?
Yeah, the gold Keeler actual. Did you guys know that there's actually an official? That they have a line name. They're called playsets officially.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
I think
I
it's-
did not know that until very recently.
Did you know there were actually 4 sets,
Yep.
technically?
The special edition.
Yep.
Yeah.
Trust
I think
me.
I
I
think
know.
the Bionicle system sets, like, I know this is probably like a weird time to put this opinion in, but like I think the Bionicle system sets were an interesting combination of Lego's new, up-to-date, modernized design philosophies, which were just better than their old ones, and not really caring what came out of it. Because the figures are very bad.
The
And-
2005 figures are not good, no.
I'll say
And
this
I
as
actually like
having
the Rocky minifigs. Those were pretty dope.
Mhm.
owning the 2005 system sets. I can definitely say that they are the weakest of the Bionicle play sets that they made.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like
Yeah,
the
well-
Vizirac battering ram, you brought that up earlier.
Mhm.
It's worth getting for the sake of having that gold Vizirac head, but other than that, it's a very blocky and
Oh yeah,
weird
it's not
set.
it's not very good as far as the set goes.
It looked like someone used to designing system sets was thrown a Bionicle set to make.
I mean, having said that,
Unnecessary.
there's like what? There's exactly 6 Viscerock style like mini pieces in here, isn't there? 1, 2, 3.
Well, Actually, Ginko, I would say it's
That's 7,
exactly the opposite. I'd say those sets felt more like a Bionicle designer was told to design what they thought a system set for Bionicle would look like.
Right. Hey, LJ,
I can see that.
did all 4 play sets in 2005 have every single Toa in it, or was it just this Rock Battle Ram? Okay.
Every single Bionicles playset in 2005 had every single Vizirac, and there were 6 individual Vizirac. However, every set came with 8, so plus 2, and then every single one had every single Toa Hordika.
That
Wow.
is something you would not see today.
You would see it only in the most expensive set.
Yeah.
Well, even
Although,
then, I mean,
admittedly, I think that has something to do with the fact that the Hordika minifigs. I use that word loosely.
Mhm.
Were not minifigs and were not posable in the slightest.
They were tiny statues.
Yeah. I use a phrase a lot in the retired reviews. I say that they're very chess piece like. And I think that's
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes
awfully
sense.
apt.
yeah,
Why
that's
didn't
a
they
good
ever
point.
make a Bionicle chess set?
That's an interesting point. Maybe they should
Yeah.
have or could have.
They kind of come across as like Warhammer miniatures,
Yeah.
That's a good way to put it.
except you can't paint them because they're already painted.
Well, you could.
Yeah.
Hordika
It'd just be
minifigures
heresy.
weren't painted. They were
Technically, there
I
are
know,
enough
they were-
individual figures that you could do a chess set of Bionicle right now, because there's the 2005 figures, the 2006 figures, and the 2007 figures.
Hmm.
There's
That's-
enough variety of them that you could do chess pieces.
That's right.
That is so weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think 2005 was a strange year, and it took a lot of risks, and most of them didn't pay off.
Huge
I
misstep.
agree.
I think the Rotuka was done much better in Ninjago.
The Ratuka was awful. Like that is my least favorite of the launchers, even more than the squid.
Wait, you
Yeah.
know what we have forgotten about 2005 though? The Toa Haga. Like
That's the other thing. They are almost forgettable, aren't they?
They're literally just Toa Metru, but they're really good pieces for mocking, and that's about it.
They were so cool. The Kowalski is still my favorite mask.
Yeah.
Kowalski is definitely one of the best masks to come out of Bionicle.
Also, Toa Iruini was my first ever Bionicle set. Fun fact.
Oh.
Wow. Toa Iruini is nice.
Yeah, no,
and
2005
also-
should be a lot lower on this list, personally.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
And since we got Ginko on the call, I think do this. Number 6 was actually a 2-way tie.
Yeah, we're
Between-
skipping 7 because it's a tie. So
Yeah. Those two with 15 votes each were 2008 Cardanui and 2002 the Borat Swarms.
Ooh.
Now, this is an interesting subject because I absolutely
Night and day.
Oh yeah, I absolutely love 2002. So this is the part that surprises everybody. This is the year I joined it.
Wow.
Mhm.
Oh wait, what?
Shit.
I was there since 2002, not 2001.
That
But I was at the very beginning of 2002, so technically I count.
Okay, so you predate me just ever so slightly because I came in late 2002 and or early 2003. I can't pin a time.
Sure. So I will say this. My first comic was number 4. For some reason, I don't remember number 1 through 3, but I've got them in my collection somehow. But number 4 was the first one. I'm like, oh, this is pretty cool. I like this. And then I kind of got more into it, and I found it on the website, and that's everything. So 2002 was the starting point for me. So it always has a bit of a nostalgic place in my heart. Having said that, I'm totally okay with this being number 6. I'm not sure I'm okay with it being tied with 2008.
I think so too.
I love 2008. I'm sorry, but I love it. Even the Mystica sets, I just think they're really cool.
My grandpa gave me a Vampra for, I think, my birthday.
Good man.
And
Honestly,
I think he died recently after that, so it was always really important to me. And then, of course, now I've lost it, but, you know.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Oh no.
That went places.
I like Bionicles for the parts, not necessarily for the set itself.
That's fair.
Yeah, that's fair.
Some people that do that. I will say this. I've only ever owned, I think, 3 sets out of 2008, and one of them I accidentally left behind at a convention.
Oh.
Oops.
And I bought that in 2010, I think. Yeah, I found a 2008 set in 2010 at a pharmacy store.
Like, honestly, I don't even think that like Charlie, you brought up the Mystica. Like, I don't even think the Mystica are my least favorite sets out of 2008. My least favorite are the Makuta from the Fantoka line, because they aren't like weird looking like the Toa Mystica were, but they're just built so awkwardly. Like, you can't. After 2006, you know, the sets, they wanted to focus on form rather than function, but like they just didn't have the form. Like, you couldn't pose them right most of the time. I think, and they were just they were boring designs, I think, for the most part in that regard. But at the same time, I think the Toa Fantoka are really good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the Toa Fantoka were probably the better of the 6 of the sets. Those 3 are probably the best. Kopaka is definitely the best of the 3, I think.
The Mystica Makuta, honestly, well, okay, Krika was
Mystica Makuta are my favorite out of them all.
Krika was beautiful.
Is my favorite set ever.
Gorest and Bitil, or however you pronounce it, Vital, but whatever. Like, those two, I apologize, but I did not like those at all.
Bitil is forgettable, but I really like Gorest.
Yeah. Gorest was sort of neat. I've always liked 4-armed creatures.
So
or
I do want to get the elephant out of the room. Let's talk about the Abmantoran real fast.
Okay.
So let's just say it right now. The only one I really liked was Tanma, because that's the one I bought and accidentally left behind at a convention.
Wait, Swert, do you hear that?
I
It's
hear
the
it.
screeching.
They're waiting for us to mention it. So we're just going to say set number 8945 was garbage. Moving on.
Honestly, I feel like
Solek is garbage to translate for those that are stupid. In case you didn't hear me, Solek was trash. See, late last year, they gave me an award. They gave me an award. I was the worst I was the best villain to the selecting group, and I told them after I got that award, I'm going for it 2 years in a row. So I
Let
hope
me
they haven't
translate
forgotten
that award to normal people. You were a hero to the human race.
Yeah, no, basically. Listen, I mean, speaking unironically and speaking seriously, I like all the Optitorn. Like, I do all Bionicle sets. But the Optitorn were not great. They were not really that great. I mean, they looked fine, I guess, but they had brittle joints. They were rather boring builds. Like, I pride myself on being able to make a Borak blindfolded. I can make an Optitorn with a hand tied behind my back and blindfolded. They're that simple.
I think the easiest.
And you know what?
Hold on.
You know what?
Go ahead.
They have more pieces than the Toamata.
Wait, what?
Are you sure?
No, they don't.
No, they don't.
Or
No, they
they
don't.
have a comparable amount of pieces to the Toamata.
No, they don't.
No, they don't.
Not
Looking
anywhere.
at Cameron right now, he only had a
1,
grand
2,
total
3,
of
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
I'll tell you right now, it is not even close.
5,
The Toamata had, on average, anywhere from 30 to 80 pieces.
There was at
And-
most 15 pieces in Tama. I guarantee it.
I count about.
Okay, so not
Set
30 to
contained
80.
14 pieces.
They
I was
were
thinking
around
about
30 to 50 pieces.
Oh wait, no, I'm thinking of something else. I don't know what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Are
the-
you
the
thinking
to-
about the 2015 Protectors by chance?
No, I'm definitely not thinking of. Oh, yeah, I might be thinking of the Protectors.
So,
I might be thinking of the heroes from Hero Factory. Honestly,
Oh,
from year
it's
one.
very possible.
That is possible. But yeah, no, the Toamata had plenty more pieces than the
Oh, yeah.
Optitorn.
The I will
yeah.
say Radiac is probably the best looking as far as like something visually different, given that Radiac has those bat-like limbs or
Right.
what I mean, not bat-like, but because that was obviously Kira. I mean, like just having those legs be spiky like that. It was different. It's a different aesthetic, and it worked well off of Antros.
yeah. I
So-
agree.
So going on to the 2002 tangent, though, I
Well,
think that
hang on. I do want to mention one last thing.
sure.
2008 had probably the best Titan sets out of everything, specifically
Ooh,
the
Oh yeah, those vehicles.
Yeah.
4 vehicles in total if you count the limited edition Jet Tracks D6, which
So there are 4 T-Series vehicles, but they're not just 4 vehicles.
that's true. There's also the Skyboard for Toei Mika, and there's also the Skyfighter for Voltras, and if we want to go into it, the Swamp Strider.
I love that set, even though it was sort of awkward to do anything with.
I will say,
God, I
have
hate Toei
another-
Mika.
That's actually the other 2000.
I hate that set.
I own.
I hate that character.
Set, love, character, not a character.
I will say, Voltras has a special place in my heart because I did kind of technically create the mask's power in
Beg your
canon.
pardon?
Yeah. Voltras wears the mask of scavenging. I created the mask of scavenging.
Oh.
Not the design, but the power.
You got your OC in the Bionicle games.
Anyway, now we can move on to 2002 if we want to.
Yeah. Also, there was Takanuva was in 08 too.
Yeah, everybody forgot that.
I mean, I think it's a good Titan. Like, it's nothing to write home about, but I think it is solid.
I just
I
don't
think
like that they decided to go for the gunmetal gray. It just bothers me.
Yeah, I agree.
We could have
And-
gotten those shields in pearl gold. Can you imagine?
Oh my god. Anyway, before I cry about what we could have had in a Takanuva set, so like that said, I think even though 2001 I think is 2002 is I think way better than 2008. I think 2002 is definitely not without its issues.
Oh yeah.
Like
Yeah.
the Borak individually, the Borak is a Borak set is I would say is better than any canister set in Bionicle. But that said, I think the Borak line was unimpressive, given that they are the biggest clone sets, I think, in the entire series. Other than, like the Matoran builds.
Yeah, there was only one part. There's only one part of variation between them.
Especially at least at that price point.
For what they are, okay. On the one hand, you're not wrong. They are probably the pinnacle of clone sets.
Granted, I might be
the exact same set.
Granted, I might be salty because of the call, but
that makes things awkward for me.
Why is that?
That didn't help things at all.
Galak Call was my first Bionicle set.
Galak Call was my second Bionicle set. It's okay.
Oh yeah, high five!
Woo!
My very first Bionicle set was Tahu Nuva and Liwa Nuva from 2002.
I do want to stress, even though Galak Call was my first Bionicle set, I lived in California where Bionicle sets came out early. So it still is, it's very possibly late 2002, early 2003. I literally have no clue.
I will say, the one thing I don't like about it was the Borak Va. Can we talk about how disappointing they really were?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, this is a debate I have with Meso from TTV all the time. And he thinks that the Borak Va are better than the Turaga from 2001.
No.
Yeah, see? Hear that, Meso!
The Borak Va are basically just Turaga builds, but put together with spare Borak pieces.
They're not even really Turaga builds. So Turaga at least had the ability to move their staff one way. These guys, they don't even have that. You push their arm down and then they launch a Krana.
Yeah, except they don't, because the Krana don't ever actually stay in their thing.
That's true.
Yeah.
They needed a rubber band if you're gonna do that.
Or they hunched over.
Right. And more to the point, Korak Va, he's literally just holding Borak teeth. That is his weapon. Nuvok Va stole Nua's claws. Levok Va stole the ninja swords, or the katana from the ninja series back in 2007.
But to be fair,
1997.
That was actually where most Levok Va was actually where most people got those katana.
That's true. For some reason I can't remember where I got the teal sword. I saw teal swords.
The Robo Rider, I think. The jungle? Was it jungle?
You're right.
I think it was in the Slicer.
Rest in peace, Teal.
Yeah, I always mix those
Robot
up.
Slicer. You're right. Because I've got, that's the funny thing. I've got all those robot containers just lying around my house. And I'm like, I didn't even pay for these. Why do I have these? I didn't have the sets either. They're just canisters. But I'm going to eventually buy all the Throwbots just to say I have them.
So, question. Everyone here voted in this poll, right?
Right.
Except for you.
Voted.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure I voted. I don't remember what I voted.
So are we going to wait to decide, or are we, in that instance, do we want to have the tiebreaker, 2002, 2008?
If you want to be the tiebreaker, by all means, feel free.
I think, yeah. So I've been quiet as I've mulled this over, because 2002 was a fairly iconic year for Bionicle fans. Obviously enough, 2001 to 2003 are generally regarded as the golden years. There's a very specific reason for that.
Were there any Titans in 2002 other than the Borak Queens?
There were the Barag, the Exotoa.
Oh, the Exotoa is
Bionicle Master Builder set. That's another thing that they had.
It's not Titan,
that's
but
a special edition. But
I'm shocked. 2002 is the year of the worst Titan set.
So,
hey, the Exotoa is not the worst thing that came out of Bionicle.
The problem
Sorry,
I'm having here is that there's a lot of similarity when it comes to 2002 and 2008, more than some people would surmise. It's a year that featured 2002 was the last year we got a Tonuva set until 2008 when they came back. 2002 and 2008 are both unfathomably iconic years, both set-wise and story-wise. 2002, to me, had a lot of absolutely wonderful-looking sets, even if they weren't necessarily diverse, interesting builds. I think that they look really good. The Toa Nuva are interesting in that they took the Toa Mata formula and they made adjustments to it. Whether or not you think there were improvements or not is completely subjective and up to you. Personally, I don't think that they look better than the Mata, but that's a preference. The Borak are unbelievably great sets, but as was mentioned earlier, they are incredibly derivative of each other. You get one, you do literally have them all. Figuratively have them all, not literally. You only have one.
Wasn't that the tagline? You buy one, you buy them all?
No, my God. I like that. I like that a lot.
How did we not make that joke back in the early 2000s?
At the same time, while obviously I do like the larger sets, the Barag, of course, they're meh. I don't like the function in that it scares me every time I use it. And
I don't like the function because it breaks.
Yeah, the gears, they break, don't they?
The gears break, the rubber bands break, and some of the... I've actually had some of the frames break on me.
Okay, they use the Borak rubber bands, so there's a lesser chance of that happening. But
well, they use the Borak rubber bands, but the Borak rubber bands, they use them on a much higher force than the actual Borak.
That's a good point. They should have gone for the much larger drive belt for that purpose.
Mm-hmm.
There's also the Boxor, which was interesting.
Yeah, it was neat. I like that it had an alternate build mode for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, that's the same with the Exotoa. There's already 2 build modes there. That was cool.
Yeah, but I think they were both bad.
The issue here, I think, really comes down, and the reason why this is a difficult question to answer is that 2008 has a lot more sets than 2002. And thankfully, I have those numbers. Wink, wink, finale. 2002 had 22 sets. 2008 had 29. And while that doesn't seem like a massive jump, that it builds up visually speaking.
Especially when you consider that those 6 sets were mostly Titan sets.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
No, you're right. And 2008, I think, doesn't look as good grouped up as 2002 does. But I think it still also looks really fantastic in its own right. I have a preference to 2002 because of the colorations it uses. I do not prefer the Toa Nuva we got in 2008 to the Toa Nuva we got in 2002. I think they are probably better sets. I just don't like how they look. The Makuta are really good. There's a variety of them, so if you don't like one, like Gorast or Biddle, then you still have people like Antraz or Vampra to really enjoy, or Krika. Krika's a big one. So all in all, personally speaking, if I had to break this tie, and story-wise, the 2002 I definitely think had a fine story, but it was a straightforward one. It was, Toa had to collect more things to beat these things. And then they get suits of armor, which did a detriment to them. There was no point in having those suits of armor.
That said, that was the arc where we had the comic panel of Tahu making Takoro great again.
So, 2008 wrapped up a lot of really fascinating plot threads. I think that it had a lot going for it. A lot of stuff came to fruition, and it had one of the greatest reveals BIONICLE has ever had in the Matt Nui robot. So if I had to break the tie, I would personally say 2008 is better than 2002 to me. I would put 08 above 02.
Boom.
Whoo-wee!
So I guess you heard it here. So officially on our list, number 7 is 2002. And
you heard it here first.
6.
Eljay Johnson hates round boys.
Oh my gosh.
Oh God. Well, I guess that's it for this particular recording session. So I want to thank my esteemed panelists. Thank you, LJ, for being on. I hope to get you here for number 5 through 1. This is going to be a really fun list. Ginko, thank you for being here for about 3 minutes.
Yep.
I
You're
hope
welcome.
to get you in here for a few more, but at least you get to talk about the Round Boys, right?
Yes.
John, thank you for always being John, and not the other John. I want to thank Charlie for being here. He's certainly not here anymore right now, but he is already missed for reasons. And I want to thank Tyler for being here for about 3 seconds and being upset that we already ran down G2.
I'm not upset.
All right. Well, I hope to get you in the next recording session too, because that'll be fun. And I want to thank Hector for not being here because now I had to do the hosting duties, and I hate hosting.
Everyone, write down in the comments what you think number 1's going to be.
I mean, they could look up the poll.
Yeah, but that's cheating.
The Exo Force.
We don't approve of cheating here at the Lime Joint.
No, that's true. We did go after cheaters. I don't know. Yep. If you want to think, let me ask you your question. On this list, what do you really think should have been number 1? That's another question to ask instead.
Woo!
Mega
Spicy.
Constructs Halo.
I mean,
We don't speak of that here.
Just a reminder that Journey to 1 actually meant Journey to 1 CCBS line.
And that line is Star Wars. Oh, wait, that didn't last for long, did it?
Hooray!
All right. I guess we'll see y'all later.
Hasta la waffles.